everybody, and welcome to episode number 2 of the DMC podcast with your host, Cody Hunter, and the legendary Adam Rigby. How you doing, my brother?
What's up, team? Going awesome, mate. Full guns.
Full guns, mate.
Epic week.
Mate, I fill me in a little bit on your experience and feedback from how we went on with the first episode. Like, what have you heard back? What's been going down?
What have I heard back? Grateful, first and foremost. Hey, we got there. We did what we said on the packet, right? We turned up and we got it done. And I wasn't really sure. It felt supernatural for me, and going back through it, that's what we wanted, right? We wanted that conversation that people could feel as though they could sit, listen to, and participate in if required, and that's definitely coming. But the feedback from such a wide variety of people has been certainly humbling and helpful. And again, the broad nature of all of the people that have taken time to come up and say hi. So thank you to those that have come up, and thank you for your feedback. We really appreciate it. It's something that we've wanted to do for a long time. It's something that we've started. It is for you guys. I got asked actually today, what was our long term? Where did I see this going? And my response was, mate, what we're focused on is just living in the moment and focusing on what we're doing right now, and what will be. But you guys are telling us that you're enjoying the conversation, you're enjoying the subject matter. There's going to be lots more. So yeah, bloody amazing. Buzzing.
Buzzing. Yeah, it's been really good. I've had the same experience, and obviously it's great that we are from like 2 different areas of the country, 2 different, we've got different communities that we're involved with. So we kind of have a good little spread of people, and obviously from our work side of things, we've got people from there, which is awesome to have them on board as well. But then also from gyms and yeah, it's great to be able to like touch, have contact and be able to make an impact straight away with different groups of people, and just see how that will spread as we move forward into it. But yeah, I've been the same. Had some really good feedback. The only bit of constructive feedback on having a white background with me being so Mr. Pasty. So that was a good one. So I don't have a golden tan like you, bro. So obviously we've changed it up. But again, my lighting, I've changed the lighting in the background. But anyway, I need to just go back to the tanning bed, mate. So that's something for me to work on.
There's a healthy way to do it, mate. There's a healthy way. There's some very good products available. Right. I've heard some very good products available.
Hey, mate. Yeah, true. We'll get into that.
Yeah, maybe we can talk about products. We are not sponsored in any way, but maybe we can talk about products.
Yeah, that's right.
Further on down the track. Hey, one very cool thing in terms of the variety, people have been sharing the podcast, whether it's the Spotify or YouTube, with their friends and flatmates, and it's, hey, my flatmate told me to listen to this, and it's super good. And yeah, if you guys want to continue that and increase our family and our friends, cool, we welcome it, and we're really appreciative of it. If you think there's someone in your life that could see value or needs a little bit of positive energy and positive vibes, we are all about it. We got you 100%. And again, this is an open forum, a conversation we'll have with each other, and you're included. This is for you guys. So yeah, massive thank you to the listeners and those guys that have come up. And remember the part you play in our lives. I think we brushed on it last podcast, the part that the people in our lives, these people that come up and they play their part in creating experiences and creating energy, because we feed off it, we thrive in that environment. And there's a couple of really funny anecdotes which I'll share today in terms of the environment and the level of comfort. But you guys out there that have come up, that are showing up and have shown up this week, fronted for whatever, for work, for leisure, for play, for life, for your loved ones, good on you. Hardest step is the first one. We got through it, and what are we doing, bro? We're backing it up, right?
Yeah. Exactly right.
We've taken that first step. We talked about it. Sometimes you find yourself, the first step might be super awkward, but you've made it. You may not be in the perfect environment. It might not feel right for you, but remember that you've taken that first step, the most important one, and give yourself an opportunity if you need to change or implement another strategy. Biggest step is the first one.
Yeah, massive. And exactly what you're saying. I think the whole, that following up and keeping it going, no matter what the results are. And if it is training or fitness or health or whatever you're starting, there's those little bits of feedback or those little wins you've got to focus on, right? And it could be one thing. It might be like for us, it could be one person that says, hey, I listened to it. It was really great. And that's all you kind of really work on those and use those little pieces of things to push you to do the next thing in front of you. Don't think about podcast number 150. Like, we're not thinking about that. We're just going step ahead, a step ahead, a step ahead. And it's really powerful. And I got a message from one of the guys from the gym who discussed exactly what we talked about last week about coming in. And he said the first workout, I think I sent you a screenshot of it. He goes, this is not for me. That was his thoughts. The first workout he came to, he goes, oh, this is not for me, this place. This is not for me. I'm not sure what to do. But he just kept on coming back. He kept on coming back. And now he is a full frother. The guy is there all the time. He trains so hard. He wants to learn. He asks questions. He gets training programs from other coaches. So again, if you saw him the first day with those sort of thoughts and those ideas of maybe not coming back to all of a sudden being where he is, that's that perseverance, pushing through the difficult the stages and seeing what happens at the, through that tunnel. I mean, it's so powerful and people are doing it. That's what we do.
We love it, right? We love it. And certainly we're mindful that we've progressed in our journey, and we're a long way along the road in terms of that self-development and that motivation and the ability to find energy and positive energy. So we've taken steps to get to this point. We don't expect you to jump in and, when the expectation is you need to be on the same level to be successful. What it is about get yourselves on the chart, put your foot on the field, strap your boots on, and get involved. And I think we got some feedback from a workmate, and it was the same thing, same sort of comment. One day we'll get there, and 100% what matters is that you are playing the game. You're in an environment where you are challenged, and it is challenging day after day. Like we say, it's super hard. I tell you one thing, mate, I listened to our own motivation. And when you're internally motivated, listening to your own internal voice externally becoming internal motivation, wowzers, and I turned up, I fronted up on Monday. I'm like, holy, here I am talking about it. It's super liberating. Man, I fronted up Monday early and felt amazing. Well, it's the power of that. Ready to accept the responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just going to say that it's that whole power of like affirmations and things, right? So there's another practice of recording your own like trailer to your own movie, but with your own voice and your own images and your own words that you listen to for the hype up. You have music in there, because again, hearing it from yourself, hearing your own words say it versus someone else on a video or whatnot, it's really powerful. Or I mean, I mentioned to you during the week that I'll often look back on Instagram and see posts that I might have posted up like 4 years ago and be like, holy shit, that's good. Like that will fire me up, get me inspired and motivated. And you need these little reminders all the time, to get back into the game. So yeah, I mean, that's what it's good to listen to your own stuff. Sometimes you're just saying it, you don't have a good listen, get back to it, get you going, mate, get you fired up.
Words have power, like you stated last week, make sure your words have power and a positive impact. Remember, team, this is the way that we deal with stuff. This is the journey that we're on. If you find tools that are super helpful or want to try some of the tools, fantastic. If you've got your own way of interpreting what we say and want to try it a different way, again, the simple rule that we started with was just show up.
Yeah.
Just show up.
A really good follow-up from that. I used to sort of have that mindset when I was starting business stuff or starting things back years ago, and it would be like I'd always give myself permission to fail. Obviously, failing is not the desired outcome, but having that in the mind, it used to really motivate me to be like, hey, give it a shot. Like, who cares if you fail? Like, as opposed to being scared to fail, where you analyze everything so much, the old paralysis through analysis, where you don't even you don't even play the game, like we said before. So I'd be like, okay, Cody, we're going to try this program. We're going to try this business. We're going to start boot camps in the mountains and we'll see what happens. If you fail, who cares, man? You gave it a nudge. And some things do fail. But because I've given myself permission, the ones that fail, then you're straight back onto the next one because it's just part of the journey. I used the analogy of a football game a while back with some content. And it was like, if you're an athlete and you play a game of rugby, for example, you train, you go to the game of football, you win or you lose. Now, if you lose, you don't quit for the rest of the season. You don't just not show up ever again. You don't just go home and cry and then give up. What do? You reflect on the game. What can I make adjustments on? How can we do better the following week? We regroup and you go back in and you play another round. That's how it works. So treating it like a win and a loss was quite inspiring for me. A loss is a loss. Cool. That's my W, as maybe I think it was Conor McGregor would say. That's nothing else for anyone else to worry about. That's my loss. But I'm going to work on that, and then I'll turn it into, work on turning it into wins.
Yeah, some super examples this week that we noted down to talk about, and in relation to challenge. I mean, UFC with Israel Adesanya. Man, what an athlete!
Yeah,
what a guy. All of these things we talked about. Exceptional at what he does, right? He's in an environment where he excels. Incredible mindset. The mindset 100% of a champion that we talked about. And what I truly love about this guy is it's all about taking risks and daring to be great. And for those of you who don't know, he went up a weight class, which is significant, moving up from one weight class, middleweight, where he was the undefeated champion of the world, and not saying untouchable, but pretty close. The guy is an absolute weapon, to light heavyweight. So moving up a significant amount of weight. The guy that he fought, Blachowicz, we've got world champions that are avoiding this guy because he puts people to sleep. An absolute bona fide killer, an amazing, incredible athlete, super nice guy, amazing human, humble, family man, but a killer. When the doors close on that octagon, when the gloves are strapped on, these guys are just different beasts. Now, Adesanya was unsuccessful. Okay, so he did lose the fight, but one thing he did say, in reference to a friend of his who passed away, who was also a fighter, was may have lost, but he's undefeated. And that's that attitude, that's that mindset. And man, I loved it. And he said, man, he's lost in fighting, he's lost in kickboxing, he's lost in boxing, he's lost in love, he's lost in life, but he remains undefeated. Again, that word undeniable, that sense of purpose, that sense of belonging. And one of these guys that I watched when he was doing King of the Ring a long time ago, and if you think you're having a bad day, try getting punched in the face for a living. Try fronting up and being in a room with a locked door against someone who literally wants to put you to sleep and knock you out. It takes stones. The men and women that are fighters, my hats are off to your wall. I have massive respect for what you do. I've experienced it in terms of training. You go into a kickboxing gym or a fighting gym, a boxing gym, and the guys that fight, the guys that box, men and women, machines, a level of mentality, a mindset, a toughness, an integrity. They embrace the grind. You've never seen anybody work as hard in your life as these guys, and they put themselves to the ultimate test. It's not the kill or be killed, but it's pretty bloody close. Most sports, you're happy to take a silver medal in second. In the UFC, it could mean that you wake up in hospital. Yeah, sure, they get a lot of money for what they do, but man, they deserve it. They deserve it. But for him, you know, lost but undefeated. I love that. I can't wait to see the next part of his journey as it unfolds. You know, this is a guy that was brought up in New Zealand, embraces his own culture, natural swag.
He's always himself,
athlete.
100% authentic. He's just so authentic. Yeah.
And that's it. And that's it. You know, there's a lot of hype around the boxing game, but is who he is who is. You know, and I love that. Much respect to him and his whole team. Eugene, his coach, what a man. What a man. Just, I would not like to play poker with that guy. Super cool. But the time he gives to his fighters, the mana he carries, the strength he has, and you can see the respect that he has, he commands, because he's the kind of guy that when he speaks, people will listen. You know. And another thing that was incredible, you know, they go in and they fight for 5 minutes. Try jumping in and sparring or doing anything with your hands held up around your ears for 5 minutes for fear of getting chopped around the ears. It is tough. It is demanding. They go back to the corner. They have a timeout. You know, they get to recoup, and the first thing they do is they take that massive breath. They re-energize, they recoup, and they recenter. They have a couple of quiet words, take it in, that eye contact between coach and fighter, and then ding ding, they are back in and toe to toe again. Amazing to watch. It's not a morbid fascination that I have with it, but it kind of is. Just watching it, knowing that these guys are just another level is incredible, you know. So hats off to Israel Adesanya, man. Your country is super proud of you, and man, I can't wait to keep following his journey,
mate. If you read the comments, around the fights, it's really interesting, because there's a lot of people who will be like, you know what, I didn't like this guy, but as soon as they hear that post-match, the post-fight conference, are loving him because of how he handles a loss, the way he talks, the way he carries himself. Haters just get switched over. You just can't deny his mindset, his skill, his professionalism, everything about it. And you get those comments, mate, I used to hate this guy, but I'm on board. And again, that whole loss thing, he talks about how boxing, losing's been given this big, like, scary thing, and everyone's terrified to take those risks. And they're like, oh God, you know, because you might lose your zero. You know, he's got hit a zero on there for MMA. No losses, 0 losses. But he's willing to take the risk, because that's what big day, big payday, big earners, big players do, is they take the risks. There'll be some losses along the way, but think about how much better he is now. And then, of course, like you said, his opposition, he was a big rig, mate. You could see him, he was noticeably bigger, a big heavy lad compared to him, like. And but you know what, he did awesome. But yeah, that mindset, that whole, like, you know, undefeated, that's awesome, and it'd be good. It would have been nice to be able to hear that as a young player, or whatever you're doing coming up, having guys like that and having access to ways to see that kind of content. You know, when I was a young teenager growing up in terms of sport, there wasn't really, how do you get access to this sort of information and people and mindsets? You know, you might get a book from the local Chianau library. You know, what book was that back in those days? You know, or the encyclopedia. So, mate, it's awesome. Awesome to be able to see guys like that at their best.
And seeing him in action, man. You obviously, he's that 1% that we talked about, the Goggins. You know, the Goggins. You can't expect to go out and have the swag that guy has. Impossible. But that's who he is. What you can do is have that same level of motivation. You know, carry yourself professionally, have an unbeatable, undeniable work ethic, you know, be prepared to absolutely hurt yourself. And, you know, one of the biggest thing is put yourself in an environment where you will be successful. the city kickboxing team, some of those, the pre-fights, they hunt as a pack and they support each other, and it's unbelievable. They share their successes and they sit down and they share their losses, equally. And I love that they share the workload, they carry the burden, and they work together they've put Auckland, New Zealand city kickboxing on the map globally, which is huge.
Yeah.
Which is massive. So if I had a hat, I would tip it, I would raise it to all you guys up there, not only city kickboxing, but the guys who step in the ring, male and female, that strap the gloves on. Don't think for a second that we don't appreciate all of the stuff you're doing, raising the flag for our country and being incredible role models, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
It is awesome. Take risks.
Mate, another thing I love, and I've got it written on my wall here somewhere. We might talk about it, but when you said like at the middle of a round, they go off, they take their breaths, and that's that whole note. It says, release tension, set intention. So release tension of what's going on. And the reason I really like this whole thing is that, they're releasing the tension from the round before. What's going on before that moment is being released through deep breaths, through meditation, through whatever you can do in that time. Then you're setting intention for the next round or the next meeting. For us, we're going out to have meetings. Maybe you had a shit meeting beforehand. Maybe the meeting you just came from was a total disaster. So you've got to release it, because if you go in there carrying that with you, like a round of a fight, carrying in that shitty round, how are you going to win the next one? You've got to release the tension, then set the new intention of going in and kicking ass again, right? So it's easy to forget to do things like that and just go and carrying whatever you've got from the last meeting or the last 20 minutes or the last hour and taking that into the next thing you do, whether it's with the kids when they come home and you've got the tension from your day and you haven't released it, you haven't figured it out, and you're carrying it in, you're stressed out again, you're short, you're fatigued, and it's, I just really enjoyed that when I read this in a book about it, because it's just a nice little 2-second deal. Anthony Robbins talked about that too, the old click of a fingers, change the old mindset, the emotion, bang, click it. If you've got enough, it's our control. So again, application from a fighter to a dad, to a salesman, to whoever, we can utilize that activity all the time.
Yeah, and we've laughed about it. We chatted about it before. You remember the old rugby days, and you may be getting pumped on a field and you're 90 points behind, or it's a super close game and you're seven points behind. But you go in and you rally around and everybody just resets, and then the coach comes in or the captain and goes 0-0. 0-0. And it's pretty hard to shift your mindset to that, okay, we're back even again, especially when you're getting pounded into the ground. But it's amazing just that little hard reset and the enthusiasm that can be built by just one quick statement and again that snap, like you said, bro, that little mental shift, couple of mind changes and say, okay, back, we're in this. Yep. Or we're getting pumped, we need to get back to that level where we can be competitive. Some miraculous comebacks in sport and in life because of people's ability to reset. Another massive thing, mate, America's Cup.
That's right, mate. Yeah, that's right. Is that on? How we're looking on that? What's that? That's on today, isn't it?
This afternoon, yeah, this afternoon. 1-1. New Zealand v Italy. Interesting, super interesting. And in reference to, we talked about pressure. Well, sailing's all about pressure, maximizing pressure to gain momentum and push forward. And even when we're against the wind, an ability to use that pressure, massive headwind, to still carry forward momentum. These boats, almost planes, are incredible. A commitment to technology, teams of 1,000 people to put these things on the water, tens of thousands plus of hours, mind power, manpower, boats that go 100 kilometers per hour. You can hear them groan. But one thing that I do love is the guys on the boat, the pressure, certainly in terms of sailing, but the pressure that they carry when we talk about the expectation. Because how's that? You know, we front up to the gym and we might have our own level of expectation, but try fronting up on a world stage when you have the expectation carried of 5 million people on your shoulders. And despite a big team, you can sort of say, okay, here, we'll take 50,000 each, or but to be able to convert that, to be able to handle that pressure and have presence of mind to just focus on that moment.
Yeah.
You know, they can't have one hand on the trophy from day one, and they never had. So it's interesting. I love that it's close. I love that they're fighting. I love that they're out there representing our country in such challenging times when not much is happening, you know.
And so, and also
all around the world.
It's so I know there was a concern about having no spectators around, right? But it's moved to level 1, right? Is that what's going on up there at the moment? I think it's changed back so people can get out and about and watch the races. Is that right?
Well, people are finding a way, aren't they? Level 2 or level 1, I think they're initially it was groups of no more than 100. Now, if you've been down on the waterfront earlier for the series that they had, then there was just thousands of people lining up the screens down the viaduct. It was pumping, bars were full, you know, crazy here in NZ. You know, it's kind of weird. It's a weird situation to be in, when hell's breaking loose all over the world, but there was literally thousands of people, so the environment was great. Nowhere near, though, what it would be like if we had our international visitors over, because it's a global sport, and you know, the tourism and the volume that comes through this country, people wanting to come and watch and share the beautiful things that this country has to offer in that competitive sport is limited. But people are finding a way, you know, whether it's sharing balconies with friends, whether it's sitting on a bank a healthy distance away from you know, other people, friends or family, or and of course the high level of activity, people downloading, watching television, sitting at home, still have the ability to sit in bars and watch. Hats off to those guys for the pressure that they have to deal with. You see the press conferences, you can just feel that weight, you know, that they carry, and you can see the level of intensity that these guys have is incredible. So super competitive series, all about converting pressure into go forward, all about the ability to carry expectation and perform at your absolute best. And a reminder that these guys never give up, because anything can change on that course. It could be a wind shift, like life, right? We're navigating, we feel down, and suddenly there's something that changes course, and we gain momentum, we pick up speed, and everything starts to feel good. And then what happens? We may get a trough and the boat loses speed a little, but then we're back up. So good little lessons if you're prepared to look for it, look at things a different way. Again, it's that mindset, the lessons that these little things, the sporting events can teach us. I do love that. And how good to see the New Zealand flag flying high, you know. So again, it's going to be super tough. The Italians, hyper passionate, love the Italians, got a lot of time, spent time in Italy, love the people, love the place, love the food, their culture. They're very similar to us in a lot of ways, and that's why I think, you know, having spent time with some Italians, I can see why we get on. We're super similar, fired up. We love our sport. We love our families, and it was heartbreaking to see how COVID took hold of Italy very early. But I could see why. I remember being in an Airbnb in Italy, and you could hear the families conversing over dinner. You know, generations sitting at a dinner table. Unbelievable vibe and feeling, and you can, my heart absolutely sunk when I knew what they were going through. And I got about, yeah, Kiwis versus the Italians, with a couple of imports chucked in.
As always, mate, as always.
Our best of the best, right? It's the best. These are professional guys. So, yep. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. And the flow-on effect of having that experience, you know, as they filter it down, the flow-on effect of having that confidence as they filter it down, the flow-on effect of having the ability to come back against all odds and stay positive, that flows down, you know. And they cross the line, and, you know, even in the loss, there's lessons. Like Adesanya, even in the loss, there's lessons. They go back and they pull everything apart. The difference is they've got data.
Yeah, that's right.
The difference is all of that data that they've got. And we're no different. You know, our brain stores all of these packets of information, stores all of the data out of events. And we'll unpack it and try and analyze it like a supercomputer. And go cross-eyed to our detriment. Oh, mate. And that's one thing we definitely wanted to speak to today as well. Hey, and it's going to flow on as well. Yeah, man. But yeah, so today really, blessings. All the news that we've got was about backing it up, backing up, making a start, backing up. One shout out to this week, we celebrated nationally, globally, International Women's Day, and you know, we're lucky to be involved with two organisations that, you know, promote equality. And we're fortunate to be surrounded by powerful, intelligent, energetic, articulate superhumans, male and female, but to the women in our life that have supported us. We would be zero donut without the impact and the input that you have. Males do struggle to understand the kaleidoscope of colours. And, you know, the main thing is, guys out there, pay your respects, be thankful that we're fortunate enough to share time and space with these wonderful, wonderful creatures. They may not think the same, but man, how amazing are the women in our lives, you know? Like you were saying last podcast, how your wife is kind of the organizer, the analyst, where you're out lighting the fires, you know. She's holding everything together. And
that's right.
You know, we're physical, males are physical beings, to the most part, and women, bless them, in terms of how they handle issues, more emotional. And that's what we need to tap in as males, because we've shied away from it. We need to be more emotional. We need to share more. We need to care more. The undying support and love that the women in our workplace have for each other is incredible. And I love that. I love the power that they have. I love how, you know, it's changed in terms of how the level of support and how they uplift each other and those around them. We've still got a huge amount of improvement in that space. You know, we've all got to make an effort to improve. And we can talk about, we don't need a special day to acknowledge them, but we do need reminders to check in and say, yeah, think of where we came from. You know, New Zealand pioneers in equality and equity. We need to be mindful of that, and we need to be respectful. And last week, we're all humans. We are all humans, complex creatures. We're going to do some stuff, BT Dubs, some relationship stuff. We're going to do some stuff on love language further down the track, which I think is cool and something that works super well. And I just want to say now to those that have come up and said hi and you appreciate it, this podcast is for everybody, for you guys. So for those superheroes, those women in my life, in Cody's life, in our lives, that have enriched us and enthralled us. Your energy, your enthusiasm, your love, support. Yeah, it means a lot to us. We just want to say thank you in terms of recognition. You guys are flipping off the charts amazing, and we appreciate you.
There you go, mate. There you go.
That was a long-winded way of saying, well, it was International Women's Day, BT Dubs.
That that was a big monologue, mate. I couldn't get in there, mate. That was like a 20-minute. Holy shit, I was going to turn my camera off. I was going to go, holy shit, mate, what do I get in there for a yarn? But yeah, mate, I hear you. I do hear. And I like the where you're going with the appreciation side of it. And then men having platforms now, which is what we're essentially doing for ourselves as well. But those platforms, hey, I'm blowing up about the CrossFit Open. But having like men's groups or masterminds or these, I've been involved in quite a few over the last few years, of a platform for us to be a bit more vulnerable, to share and talk about things. The old traditional one would have been the pub for a couple of cold beers, have a bit of a yarn about what's going on, have a bit of a whinge. And, like we need those platforms. You need those places to have a chat and to be questioned and talk about it and release the demons a little bit, because it's easy just to swallow that stuff up for a very, very long time and not to really address it. So having, hey mate, who's this guy here? But having those opportunities to actually share and talk about that stuff is awesome. And I've had some really good experiences with that myself. I'm just going to close something here, but you carry on. Bang.
Okay, mate.
Done. Sorry about the old sound there, mate. We're good.
What happened there, bro?
Well, it was the CrossFit Open was announced today. So those CrossFit frothers are sending me messages about the workout because I'm supposed to go head to head with a young gun about this workout. So he's just showing off.
Okay, mate. Look, I'd love to be there for that, mate, but I've got an appointment. I've got an appointment that day. If you're,
oh, you mean like when is it? Yeah, when is it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, hang on a second. I didn't know I booked that day. Sorry. If you follow Cody's Instagram, you'll see him lifting stuff up and putting stuff down at a rapid frequency in it, and certainly it looks super heavy and challenging, but the way you do it, and again, is that grind and the way you embrace it, mate. Love that. Love getting into it. And you're just showing it, getting out there and getting into it and doing something. It's something that you're super passionate about, and it shows. And that's what I love, seeing people perform, seeing people in the right environment, doing what they love and being exceptional at it. I'm fortunate I get to witness it a lot, actually. On stage, off stage, just people loving. On that, one thing this week is that this is the old me versus the new me. And I did mention it to someone today. So we've been doing a range of, going into different classes and teaching, because there's new releases of music that come out, and we go around and we like to do what's called blitzing. So blitzing is playing the release for 2 weeks nonstop, same music, same choreography. So people can get access to it. New moves, level up in intensity, all of those cool things that we love, that we froth over. And a young lady approached me and said, someone came in and did a class and you were there. And I said, yep, what they think. And they said, no, it was really good, super hard. And they said you were strange or weird. Strange or weird? And mate, the old me probably would have collapsed and cried. But the new me, my response, it actually surprised me because I was like, do you know what? That's amazing. Because that means in that space, I was 100% authentic to myself, because I am. I'm off center. You know what I mean? Those that know me will know this. I'm not normal. So it shows me that I was in an environment where I felt safe enough to actually be myself and express myself in a way. Yeah, I'm quirky, weird at times, strange at times. And if you're feeling like that, you are not alone. There is solidarity. Maybe everybody else is weird and strange. Exactly. Think about that. About that. but it's again, using those words, you can let them eat you up or you can accept them. Don't take anything personally, because that was an observation, but it was 100% correct. Just delivered in a different way. Could I let it eat me up? Yes, definitely. Would I? No. Why? Because that's me.
Oh, mate,
that's
I
my
love
skin. That's the skin that I live in. So I own that. I take ownership for that, and I love that. And I fought against it for many, many years of my life, not feeling as though I had the ability to fit in, or it sometimes had to be strange or weird, excessively, to be noticed or heard. But it's just me.
Mate, I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's encouraged, and I think maybe we touched on it last week, but obviously conversations have come up. But that whole, when you get to a certain period of time where you're just unforgivably yourself, you just do it, and you're whatever. Your weirdos are cool as hell, mate. Like, weirdos are the coolest people. And I try to, like, even with my kids, it's sort of like this whole. I try to just think like it's just being weird and quirky and having your things that you're really into that maybe people don't know or even think like, whoa, like, or maybe when you're in the day of, for myself, playing footy, maybe you'd never ever admit to being like a big musical fan that wanted to be an onstage performer when you were, instead of playing rugby, I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to do musicals when I was growing up. In high school we did them. In university at one point I was like, do I go to the acting school or do I go to the sports coaching degree? And that was it was quite tough for me because I don't know what I really love this side of things, and I still do to this day. But I went sports because that was, number one, I do love sports, and number two, it was probably more expected of me to do that, obviously. But and then it's just one of those things. It's like, just, you got to get to a certain point where you can just relax. Coaching coaches is the same thing. Just don't care about anyone else and how they think about you. Just be yourself. Deliver it in your way, be confident, be powerful, and just enjoy it. If no one laughs at your joke, who cares? If you find it funny, awesome. And I found,
the thing of laughing at my own jokes, sometimes you just have to.
Yeah, mate, I'll tell you what, though, I think we talked about it when I first came back to New Zealand after being over in Asia for so long, where the majority of people probably don't understand what I'm saying anyway. And the ones that do will laugh at anything if you're a foreigner. So I'm telling these jokes in front of classes and everyone's up in uproar laughing, and I'm like, yeah, I'm running this show, right? Come back to New Zealand and you can't get a giggle, you couldn't get a laugh, you couldn't even get any interaction with the class. So you might coach a class and be like, all right, everybody, come in close. No one moves. no one takes a single step forward. I might be like, yell out something like, are you ready? Not a single word. Everyone's looking at me like, what is wrong with this guy? And then obviously people are bought in now, though. I can get the responses now. I was just a new quirky weirdo coach that loved to get everyone to scream and yell, and it's paying off now. But again, difficult, but I didn't stop or change my coaching style. I just kept hammering it until people saw how fun it was, and it works. Yeah,
we said last week, hey, it's got to be fun. It's got to be fun, an environment where people feel safe enough just to be themselves. And how many times do you see people on Instagram or Facebook that are outrageous, doing some cool stuff, and you might meet them in person and it's completely different? Face to face, they're completely different. They carry a whole, behind the camera, they feel safe enough. But when you move in face to face, the challenge for those that feel as though they're in that space that can't be themselves, why can't you? You're already expressing and displaying your true self in a format that's global. So why can't you do that in a format that's local? Just accept who you are. Wonderful, beautiful, amazing, articulate, specialist at being you. No one else can be you. You're a unique individual, crafted over years or decades of stuff, objections, challenges, parenting, all of those types of things. But you are at this time and space delivered uniquely you. Do we all have room for improvement? Shit, yes, we do. Yes, we do. And one thing we wanted to talk about, bro, was what we see when we look in the mirror, the art of reflection. And we termed it, well, the term was, what the F are you looking at? What the fuck are you looking at? And if someone said that, if someone said that to you, you'd be like, oh, hang on a second. What are your thoughts on that, mate?
Mate, so in terms of reflection, looking at yourself, who you are, mate, I've spent years of doing it, years and years of doing it, and being too afraid to do it as well. Like I think it's just a big, massive work in progress. And I think for years you'll be afraid to actually look at your true self and what you represent and who you are and what you are, and yeah, it can be a bit of a struggle. Yeah, I mean, again, yeah, it's a really interesting thing to get into.
Yeah, you're right, mate, because you think about it. I mean, the process of going up and looking in a mirror, the reflection is always opposite. So we'll never see what other people see. We'll always see an opposite. So is it a negative version? It's just different. So we'll always see things differently through our own eyes or expectation. The first thing we do, which is perfectly natural, which we're prone to do because it's instinctive, and we do it in every situation. We go out and we'll look in the mirror, or we're out looking at other people. What do? You scan. You do the scan. And it used to be, we are looking for, okay, is this person aggressive, non-aggressive? Are they carrying a weapon? Are they a perfect mate? Friend or foe, fight or flight. But it's changed in the way we use that, because now it's all about, okay, how do my cheekbones compare to, so-and-so? How do my hips compare to Jennifer Lopez? That's something I go through all the time. What clothes am I wearing? How white are my teeth? All of these types of things that we look at. And it's that reflection. What are we actually truly looking for? What are we actually truly looking at? Do you ever take time to just sit and look at yourself, to look at yourself in the eye? And that moment where you can sit back and appreciate, again, there's no one on earth like you. Even if you've got a twin, there are subtle differences. And if it's not external, it's definitely internal. So even if you're going to brush your teeth, you'll look at, flick the hair, mate, make sure that's in position. Maybe the guys do a quick flex. Yeah, you might do a quick pinch, mate, check in, suck in the abs. But do we actually take time to truly invest in that moment where you can look at yourself and that moment of appreciation? So a little challenge for you guys out there: if you are brushing your teeth tonight in front of the mirror, take time, look yourself in the eye, and give yourself the recognition that you are one unique, special individual. Take the time. What are you looking at? What are you looking for? What are some of the things that, are you being incredibly tough on yourself? Are you looking for imperfections, or are you appreciating those subtle perfections that make you ultimately you? So just take the time to have a look. Again, we carry the weight of expectation from Instagram, the image, how we should look, how we must look, what we must wear, how we must feel. Our instincts have changed to analyzing those things in a different way. Oh, what type of shoes does that person wear? Shoes being a classic. Look for brands of clothes, or why are we doing that? Are we scaling to see how successful people are? What are we truly looking for? But the reflection should be, and plus, when we meet people, look them in the eye. When you talk to people, look them in the eye. Naturally, you will scan through and go through the process, identify what type of person they are. And if someone's,
that's right.
Yeah, but if someone's taken the time to look at you and appreciate your perfection, and maybe a lot of it's just your insecurities, right? If someone looks at you, you might go, what are they looking at? What's wrong with me?
Yeah. And that's what we talked about, people often.
$1 million and change.
Yeah. And remember we said about it, people always thinking it's about you, right? That whole vibe, eh? It's like, what are they looking at me like that for? Like, have I done something wrong, or what's going on, or why are they not talking to me, or there's all those different things. And again, right away, it's about you again, right? It's not about, opening yourself up, and maybe the person in the room that's the most snobbiest or that's ignoring you, they might be your best mate. You don't even know yet. Why don't you just go have a little intro, go say hello? Maybe they're really scared of social environments. Maybe they have real issues with meeting new people.
Yeah.
Where they'll never introduce themselves, but they want to talk, but it's scary. It's terrifying. So they're waiting for someone to take the initiative. And then it's, I love that, eh? And you get the comment, like you might hear someone say, oh, when I first met them, I thought they were like real assholes, but after a couple of days, or, after 10 minutes of yarning, they were the coolest people I've ever met. Those kind of things, where exactly what you're saying, the observation, the comparison, everything's actually holding you back from even giving it a go, because you're starting to analyze everything so much, where maybe you just need to say hello. Just go take initiative.
Your perception, your perception, because you might say, oh, do you know so and so, and the response might be, oh, dick. But they might have had a super bad day, might have had a bad experience, might have just been the wrong day that they had some sort of communication, didn't put a smiley face after an email. So automatically you've got this perception of who the person is. Have you taken the time to go up and say, hi, how are you?
Yeah.
What type of questions are you asking? Are you asking about interests? It's super funny, eh? Like you know how some people, you just feel as though they have an issue with you. You can go through, and if anybody does feel that way, one thing I would advise is to go up, and it takes a certain level of bravery, but you guys have already made steps in your life that have reaffirmed the fact that you are brave. So this is one more tiny step. Go up and say, hey, this might sound silly, but I just feel as though there's some sort of tension between us, and I don't know what it is. I'm trying to figure out. I heard you're a super person, or I think we'd really get on, but am I just being stupid? And they'll go, mate, you're just being a dick. Or I thought the same thing about you. Or it might be validated. But it's that assumption, isn't it?
Yeah.
We talk about certain books that we're reading at the moment. You're making assumptions. You're always going, how many times do you get a phone call or a message from someone, can you call me? And automatically you go through all these negative things like, oh shit, what have I done? What's wrong? Oh my God. God, I'm gonna get kicked in the ass here. I'm gonna get told off. Your checklist automatically goes to the negative.
Yeah.
And that's normal or a natural response, but try and break it down. All right. Try and go in with that positive mindset to just go into a situation. And wouldn't it be great to shed that weight, to actually have gone through and said, hey, it's weird. I just feel like this is a bad blood. You don't have to take ownership and say, I'm sorry if I have offended you, because there's probably nothing you've done. It might have been just a bad day. Just go up and see, clear the air. High five. Go
say hello. But it's funny because I see when you're talking about books that we've looked at, and these are cool, and that's why I really, again, we talked about it last week, but that whole the agreement one, it's quite interesting, because the things we've sort of all discussed all flow against those agreements. Remember the about your word, how you talk to others and yourself, and then of course taking nothing personally. It's not always about you. It's whether good or bad, people are saying things for different reasons, but just don't take it personally. And then the assumptions. So fill me in. So I talked about that book last week, and
yes,
have you started listening? Whereabouts are you up
to? I started
to?
listening. I just finished Atomic Habits. So I came off that running hot. Yeah, great read. The great thing, team, if you put that in your list of books to read, Atomic Habits, the great thing about it is there's scenarios and situations that he puts you in so you can make sense of it. Doesn't go super deep, it's not super complex, but there's some really cool tools available, and it's an accessible level of thinking and learning. So yeah, thank you for that, mate. That was great. Yeah, now the next one, holy shit. So I mean, I showed you, right? I've got it, I've downloaded it. The 4 agreements. Now I looked it up on Spotify, and there's a guy that breaks it down into pieces, and he said, look, this guy's recommendation was that this is a great book. It changed his life. He will try and break it down, but you have to read the book. There is no shortcuts to actually opening yourself up to this experience. And it starts super deep, but it puts you in a place where you can access mindfully the information that's presented. So it kind of starts to put you on a plane where you can accept the information the way it's delivered. And I'm only early days into the book, and I've already had those holy shit. Man, it is deep and intense, but at this perfect level that just is, it's nothing like I've ever read or listened to before. My advice with it is take the time, 100% put it on your list of things to read. It's not a massive book, it's not a big book.
No, not a big one.
Put yourself in a time and a space where you can relax and enjoy this one. The principles or agreements that are talked about in the book are super important. If you can carry 1 or 2, if you can carry all 4, amazing. I know you've implemented them in your life and your strategy moving forward, and I can see it in the way that you carry yourself, and that's amazing. But I can't wait to continue reading this book, the 4 agreements. Unbelievable stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I write, so I do a daily journal activity. So every morning I'll write in a journal, and I go through different categories of things to write about. And I've actually implemented reminding myself every morning, setting the intention to adhere to the 4 agreements. And so then I'll write down the 4 agreements, because it's like every day, again, it's that whole, the atomic habit stuff. Everything is about that, setting that intention. If I don't think about it, you'll forget. You can't be perfect all the time. But if it's in my head somewhere and I keep thinking about it, when, for example, my kid or my wife, or there's something that's going on where I feel like that energy is quite weird, and I'm like, shit, have I done something wrong? Making assumptions, taking it personal, I can kind of catch myself out. And instead of trying to, number one, maybe go into warrior mode, like, how do I fix this issue? Which is what men do. We want to fix issues. Whereas our wives don't want us to fix shit. They want us to, like, number one, either be quiet and listen to what I have to say, or just let me have some time to process what's going on. So, I mean, again, I've applied it in my life to the points where instead of me going at something to try to repair it or listen or get to the bottom of it, I've just sat back and made no assumptions, let that happen out. Nothing's personal, just let it flow, and wait till the time is right and things will figure itself out. And it's really good reminders. So I just put that into a daily journal. It's a daily journal area for me to remind myself, because I think it's simple, it's clear, and it can be applied. I love applied information. I love tools I can use on a daily basis. That's all I read about, and that's all I really, consume on a daily basis, because I can use it. How can I use this to help myself to be better or to treat people better? So, I mean, I love it. It's one of my favorite books for sure.
Yeah, and it takes a special kind of person to be able to write it down and have the discipline to do that, because it's that accountability. When you write it down, it's like signing a document. When you put your stamp on it, when you embed it by putting ink to paper, it's a whole new level. I haven't quite got there yet. I do make notes. I do carry a little notebook. I did make notes about stuff that we wanted to talk to, because I think it's all important. But as I think the thing is, we unraveled, the conversation opens up so many more levels of conversation. With that in mind, if people feel there are pressing issues or things that they want to talk about, maybe at some stage we'll be live, and we can take on questions and answer them live. I would love that.
Yep.
Don't forget, team, to subscribe, to like, switch on notifications if you're on YouTube, or subscribe to Spotify or Apple, however you can get access to this. I've had friends that have said, yeah, while I was cleaning, like you said, mate, you know, taking the time available, that little 1% when it's just dead time, whether it's driving. I've been applying that in my own life to my reading and my self-improvement, my little 1%.
Yeah.
Is utilizing that time. Normally I'd just think about, okay, let's crush some beats, let's put on some music, and just unst it up. I'm like, okay, is that going to give me that 1%? Might make me feel nice, that instant gratification of those beats, but long term, I'm thinking, initially there was that resistance because I wasn't quite used to it, but I've managed to be able to multitask my mind and have the ability to actually give it time to sink in and resonate. And I love it. I love the process of learning that I've opened myself up to, rather than closing, because that's what we should have a commitment to do every day, Pete's, is continue to improve. Don't think that you know it all. Don't think that you've done it all or seen it all.
So much there. Yeah.
There is so much that we can expand on from you know, and as we're saying, there may be some people that don't agree with some of the things that they hear or see, but what's important is that you listen to that perspective. It's not, you know, it turns an argument into a conversation, where if you see things differently and want to have a conversation about it, listen to how the other person thinks or sees or perceives, appreciate it. That may be a byproduct of years and years of learning or environment. And then if they give the same respect and time to you in explaining how you feel about a certain situation, there might be middle ground. They might see a couple of points of yours. Hey, they might not, and that's life. We don't always have to agree or get on. That's what makes the world a wonderful, wonderful place to live in. Unless there are things that we should never tolerate, you know, like sexism, racism, all of those types of shit things, then that's when you shoot that shit down with every fiber of your being. Be brave, be bold in that space. And if you hear it, stand up and do something about it, And again, we've still got a lot of ground to cover with that as well.
I think just on what you were saying there, I really do enjoy the whole. Often our thoughts and our ideas and our beliefs in our head are very different when we put them into word, and so those conversations can be so powerful. Just asking, tell me more. Why do you think that way? And quite often it becomes. I mean, I've done it before. With me, it's more being things like business ideas, for example. You have an idea in your head, and you're like, "This is going to change the world." And then you go to someone, your person you voice things out with, you start talking about your idea, they're asking you questions about it. And before you've even finished the conversation, in your head, you've already calculated things together of like, hold on, that's actually, in my head, that seemed like such a much better idea than it actually is. You know, so we have these ideas and thoughts, and if we don't voice them, we don't talk about them or write them down or process them in a way, they can just become these strange, you know, delusions in your mind that are like, either you've got an idea, and that's why questioning's so awesome. It's like, well, tell me more about that. How's that going to work? Or, you know, the good old one, the why, you know, asking why like 8 times, you know, where you go so deep into it that you're really giving it a good test run. You know, why? The
perfect
why
child's response, but all they want to know is why, right? They don't know the answer, so why are you getting grumpy?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, exactly right.
They don't know the answer. They're asking why because they don't know. Teach,
mate, and it's so good. So I think not being afraid to be open, don't be afraid to fail. If you've got an idea or a concept or something you believe in and you want to talk about it, then it's awesome. You have those conversations about it, and you do learn. And you might, you know, I've had times where I've gone like, yeah, true, I never looked at it that way. I mean, that's wow, okay, interesting. You know, it's beautiful. That's conversation. That's chats. It's DMCs.
Yeah, I think and deep and meaningful is all right. Yeah, and I think in reference to that too, you know, when your partner or siblings or anybody gets home, and the simple question, you can see they might be struggling or in their own head, and you go, hey, how are you? And you might get an indifferent response. How was your day? and you might get an indifferent response. Don't stop there. Don't avoid the conversation or allow them to check out. Check in and say, why was that? Why was that? Give them time to speak about it, because when you speak about it, it gives you an opportunity to process it. And then when you can process it and unpack it and pull it apart, you can dump it. You don't need to carry that stuff. So if you've got people in your lives that are like that, just go in, and it may be frustrating at the time and a little bit sticky, but just say, why was that?
Yeah.
And you may be able to help them through that little, my family is great at that. We check in with each other. How was your day? Why was that? What was challenging? What's the best part of your day? What's the best thing that happened today? Connect with that one thing, because it might only be one thing, might be a number of things. Might have had a shit day. Why's that?
Yeah.
Why's that?
I love that. And the one thing about, and I've read a lot of books since I have a son, and I was like, I need to talk, and also I'm a man. So I've read a lot of books over the years that talk a lot about those sort of behaviors. And the one thing I really took from it, and I know from experience, especially with, from my experience with my son, is that when I ask him questions, he won't answer, right? So this is what they do. And so, but what you've got to know that with boys, it's when you're doing things together that are activities like, I don't know, some gardening, cooking dinner together, like playing with Lego. Something's going on. I can't really dig super deep into it, because he'll close the door further. But in like these mundane activities where the mind is free to travel and cruise, or a bike ride. What are you doing on a bike ride? Well, you're just cruising.
Yeah.
So if I run beside him and he rides his bike, his mind is not distracted by computer games and whatnot. And that's when it's like, hey, Dad, can I talk to you about something? Or, hey, Dad, at school today, someone said this or someone did that. So you've got to take initiative and create those environments. And I find cooking dinners and stuff where you're in the kitchen together, just chopping things, hanging out, that's when the best conversations can often happen. As opposed to, pick up in the car and I'm like, how was your day? Good. What happened? Nothing. What was funny? Nothing. An hour later, chopping up the old carrots or something, and then it's truly deep, good conversation. It's really interesting, but you've got to be present, and you've got to show up, and you've got to create those times to do it, and do it together. So good.
Yeah, and if someone leans on you and puts you in that space, an ear, a shoulder, then be there, be present, be 100%. Because if someone has the stones to say, look, I am struggling, front up and be there 100%, drop everything, put your phone down, lean forward, get into the conversation, get that eye contact. We talk about the reflection, looking at yourself, give them the time and the respect in the conversation. How many times you have those chats and people are like, halfway in, sort of halfway, oh yeah, we're out.
That's so good, eh? Because when you were talking about
make time.
When you were talking about deep and meaningful last week, like all I envision at someone at a pub, or when you're in that situation where someone's, and you're like, look at them having a deep and meaningful, what you're saying is that the two people are so engaged. When someone's absent and not engaged, then you wouldn't even consider calling that a deep and meaningful. You just be like, look at old mate trying to talk to old mate. But it's like, you can tell when someone's in that conversation at a restaurant or a cafe and they're engaged and they're really, they're really into it. You can see it, and it's, I mean, that's exactly what this is all about, and that's beautiful.
Open the floodgates. Be comfortable to talk about anything and everything. And if you're not, assess the environment and the people you're with. Do you trust them enough to be yourself? Do you trust them enough to be called weird? Do you accept that? Do you wear that proudly on your chest? Are you comfortable enough in an environment where you can say, hey, I'm struggling, or man, that was epic, and I guess you have to navigate highs and lows in each environment to be able to appreciate who's there, because it's great when people are winning, right? But also, you look at the examples when the ticker tape's gone, when the band has packed up and shipped off, when the crowds are gone, when you're sitting on the back of a loss, whether it's work or life or love or getting repeatedly punched in the face, who's around, whose hand is firmly on your back saying, I'm here for you when you're ready to talk? Or we've probably all got them. I had this, amazing conversations with my kids. And there may be people in your life that you just take for granted that are there for you 100%. And take the time to just assess and see who those people are, because it may be random conversations. It might be, whenever you're struggling, they appear to be there for you. That's gold. And you might overlook them because your aspiration is somewhere else, like, oh, they're not part of the cool gang at school or at the gym. They're not part of the cool kids. But yet this person will relentlessly, undyingly love and support you. So take a look around. We all have people like that in our lives. Acknowledge them and let them know that you appreciate them. Like I told Cody, mate, I appreciate having his level of intensity and enthusiasm and energy in my professional and personal life, because it makes a difference to me. Look at me, I'm reading books, talking on the World Wide Web, throwing it out to the universe, which is something I never thought I'd do. But man, it's incredibly liberating too. It's not about liking the sound of your own voice. It's feeling as though you have something to say, that we both have that desire to help people. And if we help one person, and again, listeners and viewers, if you have a person, a friend, a family member that you could think would benefit just with a deep and meaningful chats, with chatting to us, we welcome it. Share it. Links are easy to share.
Oh yes.
Subscribe to us, because we're a journey. We're gonna get better and better at this. That conversation is going to continue deep and deep into the night. If you do have time where you want to zone out, if you're having trouble sleeping, sit down, put the podcast on, let Cody's dulcet, gravelly tones soothe you.
Someone I know did fall asleep to it last week. She said that she put it on and she had she was tired and had a nice little nap, mate. She woke up listening to our voices. How beautiful is that?
Well, it's a mark of a solid conversation. And again, it's not kind of prescribed. I'm not following off a prompter, a teleprompter here. This is the whole point of deep and meaningful chats. We start a conversation and it's super easy, and we're over an hour deep, and here we are, mate. We've chatted about a whole heap of stuff. Some of the stuff, did we have in our mind that we may talk about it? Yeah, some of the stuff just opens up and we chat about it. But for people to be mindful as they navigate this journey with us, that it's positive. We're trying to be as positive as we can, because that's who we are. We hope you've got a snapshot and a taste of that. Again, we're super appreciative for those people who have taken the time to tune in, to come and say hi. Keep doing it. Come up, introduce yourself. I do have to go out and people will come up and I say, hey, what's your name again? But come up and introduce yourself. Give yourself a name. Don't think you're not worthy to share your name, or don't be afraid to share your name. We'd have to repeat it a few times. Both of us have had head injuries that we've gone into before, and we'll talk about that later. That sometimes means that information gets lost. But it's great to be able to put a name in a fitness format. People are afraid because they'll get called out, right? Don't come at me and call my name. I feel embarrassed. But also be mindful of that. As we get to know you, we'll understand and appreciate who you are and what type of interaction you need and how we can help. Listen to your podcast. I love the bit where you talked about this, that resonated with me, or I didn't understand this, or can you talk about this next week or next podcast? Love language is going to come up. It's going to blow your mind. The laws of attraction is going to blow your mind. We're not just all about the fitness. One thing a question I do have, Cody, didn't you say if we got 16 subscribers that you would take your shirt off?
What are we at, mate? Did we make 16 already in week one?
So, shit, potentially.
No, I said 60. I said 60, mate.
60. Well, there you go. Pressure. You heard it here first, team. 60 subscribers, mate. He's already thinking
back down to zero, mate.
Where did I put my waxing? waxing kit? Where did I put my protein?
I definitely need the protein, mate.
Where did I put my protein? And
definitely.
Remember, team, you are exactly where you need to be in this moment. If you're listening to us, man, we love and appreciate it. We can't wait to continue this journey with us. You've shown up, you've backed it up, continue to dare to be great. No one in this world can offer what you can offer, that undeniable, beautiful, personal level that you and you alone possess. We love it. We appreciate it. I hope you appreciate our unique slant on the universe, mate?
Absolutely, mate.
And that's probably us for another week. What do you think, my bro?
Yeah, mate. Episode 2 down and in the can, mate, as they say. But yeah, just what Adam said. Appreciate you all for joining in, being involved in this journey. And again, questions, comments, feedback, please hit them our way. My son has his own YouTube channel and he's racing me for subscribers, so we have to beat him.
60 in the shirt comes up. 60 in the shirt comes up. And we had over 250 views on YouTube, which is officially, to my American friends, half of New Zealand. half of New Zealand viewed. So hi to our American friends, our Canadian friends, our friends from the Philippines, our friends from Australia. So yeah, we've gone international. Korea.
Yeah, mate.
Our Kiwi mates, our friends of friends. We're in this together. Yeah, anything we can help with along the way. Sing out to us, like, subscribe, join us. We love you. Thank you so much. You have an epic week. Go into the week with positive mindset. Show up. Give your best always.
Bam.
Love y'all.
Ditto that.
Bam.
Peace.
See ya.